Hi, how you doing? Today we're doing another reading vlog. I, like always, am a bit late to the trend because I'm doing a Dark Academia vlog. I have not read a whole lot of Dark Academia, and I just thought, and I do have a couple on like my mental TBR, so I thought it would be fun to give them a read in this video. So in this video I'll be reading 3 Dark Academia novels and see if the genre is for me or not, like the subgenre, because it's not like a genre. And yeah, that's the setup for this vlog. Have fun. Okay, so if you've been around my channel, you know that I've had a lot of troubles with videos recently. I don't know when this is going up, but like at the beginning of November, all those videos that went up were videos in which I had originally recorded towards the end of October, beginning of November, and did not realize that my mic was broken until all of them were filmed, and then I went to edit them, and I was like, fuck. So I had to redo them all again. Sadly enough, during this time, I was also reading Ninth House by Bardugo, which is our first book in this video. And I did beautiful updates every quarter of this book, discussing my thoughts on it in as much depth as you can without giving you spoilers. And all of those were without sound. So I got nothing to give to you. Besides just now giving you my thoughts on this book, which will not be as satisfactory, I know, but I don't know what else to do, man. But Ninth House Olivie, I have been putting off reading this one for so long because it just has been intimidating to me for some reason. I don't really know why, despite having previously loved a lot of the Bardugo books. And I'm glad that I actually finally got around to reading this because I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This was a 4-star for me. I honestly just had a blast reading this. I read this so quickly. It did take like 2 chapters or so to fully get my footing because we are thrown into things just like immediately, and things get explained as we're going. But that does mean it takes a little bit to get your footing. But it didn't take too long, which I also appreciated. I thought Alex Stern was an incredible main character, and she's such a different person than what typically is placed in this like Yale secret society world. She has such a different background, and that brings such a different perspective, an interesting perspective to these whole happenings. And I really love following her, and I kind of seeing her backstory, especially her struggles with seeing ghosts. I thought was really interesting and well included into this book, and I am very excited to learn even more about Alex in future books because I thought she was just a superb main character. Throughout this book, we also have kind of like 3 main mysteries that each of them I thought were really interesting, and I kind of enjoyed kind of seeing things kind of be solved slowly with one another. And then ultimately in the end, I feel like all 3 of those came together beautifully, and the way that reveal was crafted, which was really well done in my opinion, and I was shook at. I genuinely was shocked. There was some like tiny elements to it that I saw coming, but like the big reveal, I was gasping because this definitely is a mystery novel. It takes place in a fantasy world, and I feel like a lot of people describe this as just like a Dark Academia fantasy, which is accurate, but it is a mystery in its core. Like the main storyline is a mystery storyline, so do keep that in mind if that's not something you typically enjoy. But I honestly thought it was just really well done within this book. I'm also not the biggest mystery fan. If you've been around this channel, there are some mysteries that I do enjoy, but it's not like my typical genre. But in this book, I thought it was just really well crafted, really well done, and yeah, no complaints. The only complaints I have is with the secret society and the magic system of this world. I just feel like we were given just enough to be able to understand what was going on within this book, but I still felt like I was in such a mist when it came to that, and I was just grabbing in the dark trying to figure things out, and it was just, I don't know, a bit confusing at times because I just didn't fully understand. And I feel like for a 5-star, I would have liked a bit more explanation when it comes to that, but hopefully as I continue on with the series, because I'm very excited to do that, this world will become more clear to me. Hi, how you doing? I am reading If We Were Villains by MLVO. I'm at the end of part 1. This book is split up into 5 parts. I thought that'd be a great way to break up this book to talk to you. Yeah, like I said, I'm at the end of part 1, 100 pages in. Actually 102, but that's pedantic. And yeah, I honestly don't really know what to think of this book so far. I feel like I just am not super invested in it at this point. I find it hard sometimes to kind of keep track of everything that's happening in my head, just like visually, if that makes sense. Like can't always just like fully picture what's going on. I also feel like we have a large cast of characters that I currently don't really have distinguished that well at all. Like I don't know, I'm having a hard time kind of like splitting them all up. That being said, I do think that this friend group is kind of interesting. There's already some tensions that are really high at this point in this book, even though it's also kind of like hidden. They pretend it's not there. So I think that's interesting. I'm interested to see how that will develop into, you know, the dark part of the Dark Academia. And I do quite like our main character. I think he's like an interesting point of view for the story, but so far I kind of like have no clue what direction this is going in yet, and I am not invested in what we've gotten already. Okay, so I'm at part 2 of If You Were Villains, page 177. In my edition of this part was a bit short aside, and typically I would have like kept the update, but I feel like we're at a turning point in the book, and also like the next part, as you can see, this is like the next part is a bit chunkier. So just quickly like my thoughts, I still kind of feel the same way about this book. I just think that when it comes to like those underlying tensions that I talked about earlier, have definitely come more to the forefront in this book. Like there have been explosive happenings, and then I fear that we ended this part on like the big event, you know? So I generally feel like this is going to be a turning point in the book, and whether or not like what I'm gonna feel about this like second half basically, because I'm almost at the halfway point of this book, is gonna be like my ultimate feelings on this book. I feel like this, what I've read so far, is just setup, if that makes sense. So I am very excited to keep reading, but I'm still not like fully like invested in this book and love with it as I might have expected. But you know, we could still go many different directions. Hi, so I finished If You Were Villains by ML Rio, but before I talk to you about it, I just want to show you off my bookmarks because they're matching. There's like my regular bookmark, nice to meet you, Niall Horan. There's like the little magnetic bookmark that I use to kind of like mark my milestone, like the part that I want to read to when I next exhibit you, which is for this book was the part breaks. And it's also nice to meet you. It's the same illustration. And look at that match. Isn't that so cute? That aside, let me talk to you about If You Were Villains. I was supposed to update you at the end of every part, but I kind of just stopped doing that because I just felt like I didn't really have anything new to say. And now that I'm finished with it, I'm glad I didn't, because it would have gotten very repetitive, because by the end of the book, I kind of still feel the same way about it as I did when I talked to you about part 1 and part 2. So it ended up being a 3-star for me, because I definitely didn't dislike my experience reading this book. It just never really got really into it. I never really got invested in it. I feel like we were doing a whole lot of nothing in this book sometimes, or we're just like meandering. I don't get it. I really don't get the love for this book. As much as, like I said, I don't think it's a bad book, and I don't have negative things to say about it. I don't get it. I feel like this was just a fine experience that had some interesting things to say, but overall I feel like it was just a bit meandering, a bit boring, very predictable. And yeah, it didn't work for me personally. So I finished the Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. I wanted to update you while I was reading. I did, but it's just that I feel like I was struggling to kind of fully form my thoughts on this book until I was done with it. So I don't know what I would have said to you in like quarter or halfway through updates, because I don't know, I was still, now I have such complex feelings on this book, but I ultimately ended up giving it a 3-star. Like, honestly, for quite a long time to this book, it didn't really have a plot. So that's also, I feel so stuck with this book and like my thoughts on it, and therefore I totally get both like the negative reviews I've seen for this book and the positive, because I've seen like at first I saw like a lot of positive reviews, and then when it got like very big and it got traditionally published, more people started reading it, and I also saw a lot of negative ones for this one. And I honestly, I understand both. I understand you if you completely despise this book, also get you if you completely love it, because I'm both somehow. Like I said, it doesn't really have a plot, so I just for a really long time was kind of like struggling to kind of like see what exactly we were doing. I also feel like there was a lot of like time jumps that I just the way they were executed, the passage of time wasn't always like the clearest in my opinion, and the characters kind of felt a bit underdeveloped for me to like most of it. I feel like they just like fit their archetypes really well, and not much more to that. The writing is not flowery exactly, but it is like very pretentious. The whole book is very pretentious, just like If We Were Villains as well. Actually, that was also a very pretentious book. I feel like that's like a staple of the dark academia genre a little bit, to be just like a tad bit pretentious. So I definitely see how the writing will piss people off, but like that being said, I also thought the writing wasn't like dense or anything, which is what I mostly was been scared of for this book. Why I haven't put it off, because I've heard people like talk about the writing on this a lot, but I actually found it like pretty easy to read, like digestible, so there was that to it. But throughout most of this book, yes, you are like, what are we doing? Who are like, what's the point? That's like my main feeling throughout like most of this book. But like every so often we get just like little things that point towards something being off, and that just kept me so intrigued and so hooked. Like I read this so quickly because I didn't want to put this down. I was so sucked into it, and by the end I do feel like that aspect paid off to it. I ended up overall enjoying my time. I think eventually what the point of it is good. It's well done, that build up to that, but I understand that for a lot of people, like the build up might have been just like a bit too slow, and people have been like, nah, I don't give a fuck. But I actually think it ended up paying off in like a very good way. I like the reveal and like how everything goes down in the end. I am so desperately trying to do this without spoilers, and as the plot kind of like moves more forward, you also get to see a bit more development within those characters. There's more depth added to them. I really enjoyed like the last like 2 parts, because it's like divided into like I believe like 8 parts or 7, and like the last 2 I found were like very compelling, very fun read. Like the rest leading up to it, I was just kind of like, what are we doing exactly? And I'm very excited to read the sequel, because I'm very excited to see where the story is going to go, and I'm hopeful that now that we have kind of like kicked off things, it won't be the same journey as this. Although I do know that this is the most liked book in the series, so I don't know about that. But yeah, that has brought us to the end of the video, and I do think that dark academia is not necessarily my cup of tea, if I have to say. I don't dislike it. I have to say that it's not like I won't pick up a book because it's dark academia. The ones that were on my TBR are still on my TBR. I'm very excited to continue on with the Ninth House series and with the Atlas X series. Like both of those series starters I read in this book, very excited to continue on with. So hopefully I also will be reading that soon. And you know, there are still some dark academia books that I do still want to read, and if you have some recommendations, definitely leave them in the comments. But I don't think that like, for some people dark academia is like a buzzword. I don't think it is that for me, because I have found that with reading all 3 of these books, I feel like all 3 of them are like pretty different, and I feel like just because it's dark academia, that doesn't tell me anything about a book, at least when it comes to my enjoyment of things. So it's not like I dislike the subgenre, it's just that I don't really see myself in the future really going for a book just because it is dark academia, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know what this video was, to be honest. It's just that I wanted to read these 3 books. They're all 3 dark academia, so I thought I'd put them in a vlog and it'd be fun for you. But like, I don't know what like now the conclusion is, besides that I liked all 3 of them. So yay. I'm gonna leave it here, because like nothing of worth is gonna come out of my mouth. But let me know what you thought of these 3 books, if you've read them, in the comments, as well as, like I said, some of your dark academia recommendations. And then I'll see you next time. Bye.